All right, shalom, family, and welcome to another Bible study that Yahweh has enjoined unto us here in Lithonia, Georgia. My name is Esaac ben Israel, and I'm the elder priest of the United Congregation of Israel, and I'm joined here with the elder priest. Shalom, my brothers. This is Priest Kish, and it is time again for us to count our holy days. Now, this year is actually kind of interesting because it's certain things you get kind of accustomed to. In some years, it's actually easier than others based on where the days fall. But every now and then, there's a little change-up pitch that comes at you, and then you have to figure out how you're going to deal with that one part. The interesting thing is that one part then affects everything else. So I kind of had to do these twice in two different ways, and then examine those days and say, well, wait a minute. We have to focus on this one thing. And it's almost like when the situation with the daughters of Zelophehad, because it was said that all land and property would pass on to the sons. Well, then there ended up being a man who had nothing but daughters. Then they had to come in. They had not encountered that before. So the law had to be altered, or a part had to be added for, what happens if, they're only daughters. So that kind of ended up growing twice, because it had to not only encompass that, yes, it's okay to give that land to the daughters of that man, but then it also dictated how and those daughters could marry, because those daughters now possess land of the tribe of their father. And if they married outside the tribe of their father, then the land would eventually move from one tribe to another tribe. So just that one situation brought forth a encounter where you have to then look at this law and say, okay, well, what about this part of it? So we're going to have to really examine what was said here so we can deal with this. When I got asked a question about this, and I said, oh, we it'll do like this. And then, your family sometimes is the hardest one on you. Well, I'm going to need you to show me that in the book. You just can't tell me you gonna do it like this. We ain't been doing it like this. So then I had to go in the book to show it to my family, but that lets me know that y'all my family too. So I got to go in there and deal with this. So let's, the first graphic, I don't know if you guys can see that yet. We're going to deal with, the first thing is the seasons. So let's deal with, before we even get with that, let's go ahead and go to Genesis, and let's deal with that first. All right, start at Genesis 1 and verse 1.
In the beginning, Elohim created the heaven and the earth. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the spirit of Elohim moved upon the face of the waters. And Elohim said, let there be light. And there was light. Mm-hmm. And Elohim saw the light, that it was good. And Elohim divided the light from the darkness. And Elohim called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And the evening and the morning were the first day.
So the evening and the morning were the first day. There's a separation between light and darkness. There was darkness first. Okay, so we always have to remember that. This is how time begins. Darkness first. It was darkness before there was anything else. Then here comes the ordination of Yahweh. Now, we also have to look at that there is this light, but where does this light come from? So we have to deal with things in its order. There's certain things that we're not going to get back to until the ending. And sometimes we want to jump and get to those points because we say, well, hey, we know this and we know that. But timing has to be right for that. So we have the separation of light and darkness, but we don't have a way in which to artificially do that, or what we would call naturally do it. But we find that natural has its levels. Go ahead.
Verse 6. And Elohim said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters. And Elohim made the firmament, and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament, and it was so. And Elohim called the firmament heaven, and the evening and the morning were the second day. And Elohim said, let the waters under the heaven be gathered together onto one place, and let the dry land appear, and it was so. And Elohim called the dry land earth, and the gathering together of the waters he called seas. And Elohim saw that it was good. And Elohim said, let the earth bring forth grass, the herb yielding seed, and the fruit tree yielding fruit after his kind, whose seed is in itself upon the earth, and it was so.
So now we're finding some different part of growth, and this is important as we start getting ready to deal with our holy days and the times and the seasons that Yahweh has set apart for himself. And Elohim said, let the earth bring forth grass and herb yielding seed and a fruit tree yielding fruit after his kind, whose seed is in itself. Now, today, man says that he owns the seeds. Yahweh says the seed is in that fruit and it produces itself. Go ahead.
Brother, when you look at this, it says the grass, then the herb, then followed by the fruit. Mm-hmm. We've got situations where because of Lucifer and the fruit, the forbidden fruit, mm-hmm. it is said that man was a fruitarian. Mm-hmm. But the herb was there. So right. Vegetation was first before right. the fruit.
Right. I mean, let me ask you, where does fruit come from?
Grass, bushes.
Well, it's got to first come out the ground, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, the fruit come normally from a tree.
Mm-hmm.
Well, which one you think gonna grow first, the grass or the tree? We have to first of all deal with, this, the interesting part about this, when I was automatically mentioning the difference between the darkness and the light, we still don't have a light source. Mm-hmm. Okay? So then you have to ask yourself, what is the setting of this time between what's dark and what's light? He sets it how he wants to. Because he's the one that decided it was darkness and he said, let there be light. Okay, so how much time is it between day 1 and day 2? Whatever he wanted it to be. Whenever he said, all right, lights out. I mean, some people have this thing with their kids and they said, all right, it's time to go to bed. Now, kids, they'll call you. They'll be like, last time he said that when Martin was on. So then the kids said, all right, the lights out, it's 9 o'clock. So the next day you say, lights out. Kids remind you, no, Martin not on. It's not lights out time for me. No, I decide when lights out for you. You don't decide when lights out for you.
I mean, we just look at the transition of what we just going through right now. Our days were longer last month. Mm-hmm. Getting darker quicker.
Right. He didn't really ask us how we felt about that either. Go ahead.
And the earth brought forth, verse 13, and the evening and the morning were the third day. And Elohim said, let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night.
Now, he had already divided the day from the night 2 other days. He already has done this several days before this comes up. So now He is finding a way for you to have light and darkness without him. That other time, he's the one of light and darkness. You're not in control of that. So trying to figure out how much time is there is a mute point. He has not even decided a thing of time for our little brain. We ain't even in this picture yet. Go ahead.
I know when you're talking about the light that was there, you don't really get that understand to Revelation. Do you understand what it's going to go back to in the city?
It says you'll have no need of the sun or the moon. Well, you didn't need the sun or the moon in the beginning. You had light and darkness without these things in the sky. Go ahead.
And let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and years. And let them be for lights in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth. And it was so. And Elohim made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night. He made the stars also.
All right. So now these things that are presented unto us now have another purpose other than just darkness and light. Verse 14, and Elohim said, let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs, for seasons, for days and years. Now we have a system, a calendar system that is now brought forth out of what he has said in verse 14. Our entire calendar system is right there. So then we have signs for seasons, for days and years. So verse 16, and Elohim made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day. Well, he had already been providing light up until this point. Now he's providing something so that man can go by this to do all of the things that he will tell man to do. So that man doesn't have to sit around. You know, we don't really think about how of a lack of faith statement it is, that, I'm waiting on God. I'm waiting on God. He automatically looked like, hey, don't wait on me. I gave you a light. I gave you one for the daytime. I gave you one for the night. But imagine if this wasn't him. Then we have to literally wait on him to just get up and go about what we need to do. So, no. There's certain things that you need to wait on him for, but tomorrow ain't it? He's creating this, and then this is setting forth that you're going to be able to know how to deal with your seasons, your days, and your years. Now, he also knows that how he's setting up things here on earth is going to be a smaller representation of what's in heaven. So then he's going to have some holy days, and he's got to have some kind of way for us to know it. Now, all of this shines toward us. Okay? Remember in the beginning, it was, let there be light, and there was light, but there was not a sun. This sun and this moon, these signs help us keep the signs, seasons, days, years. So now we know how to then deal with our calendar based on these things. But you really have to ask yourself. It says it was a time when the sons of Elohim came to present themselves, and Lucifer came also. What was they governing their appearance by? The damn sure wasn't the sun and moon. Now, what? See, it's a whole nother system somewhere. It's a whole nother system somewhere. Now, I don't know what that system is, and anybody who start telling you they know it, you might want to start walking now. Just go ahead and leave, because this is where sometimes we just want to be somebody, and we come up with some stuff. Well, I think this, sometimes you need to just leave well enough alone. But I can tell you this, if the sun and the moon was made for us, it is definitely not directing their time. First of all, how it look above you is not how it look from where we're standing. This is our vantage point. You do know that ain't what it look like if you go higher, right? How you do a new moon if you're not standing on earth? The whole part of this is because of your vantage point. Because you're meant to look up. That don't look the same way if you're looking down. So there's a whole nother system, and Lucifer wasn't confused. Somehow he was able to get there just like every other angel. Go ahead.
You got to think about it though. Even during that time of Job, when they said he was making his appearance, it didn't say the time that all earth had to make an appearance. It said the time when the sons of Elohim came to make their appearance.
Right.
So if it was in the same time that we were making it, I'm sure something would have been referenced in Job. Mm-hmm. So the time ain't the same.
Right. They dealing with something, man. It might be some constellation moving stuff. We don't know nothing about that. Go ahead.
Verse 17. And Elohim set them in the firmament of the heavens to give light upon the earth, and to rule over the day and over the night, and to divide the light from the darkness. And Elohim saw that it was good.
All right. So then when it talks about these days, we know that the rotation of the earth gives us our day as we go either toward or away from the sun. We then know that there is a orbiting moon that goes around the earth that gives us our month. Then there is the earth and its orbiting moon making its orbit around the sun, which gives us our year. This also gives us our seasons as the sun then tilts either toward or away from the earth. So then that gives us this time. So now let's go to Exodus chapter 13. And start that at verse 1.
And Yahweh spake unto Moshe and Aaron, saying, when a man shall have in the skin of his flesh a rising,
Wait.
Oh, I'm jumped down to Leviticus, Exodus 13.
Yeah.
And Yahweh spake unto Moshe, saying, sanctify unto me all the firstborn whatsoever opens the womb among the children of Israel, both of man and of beast, it is mine. And Moshe said unto the people, remember this day, in which you came out from Egypt, out of the house of bondage. For by strength of hand Yahweh brought you out from this place. There shall no leavened bread be eaten. This day came you out in the month of Abib.
All right, so this day came you out in the month of Abib. And when we deal with what that means, we have two definitions I want to read to you. We have in Brown Drivers Briggs, it still is H24, and it says Abib, fresh young barley ears, month of ear forming, of greening, of crop, of growing green. All right, and it says month of Exodus and Passover. Now, what's interesting is if you read in just the definition here, it then has at the very end the parenthesis March or April. Now, why would it say March or April? This is where things get kind of interesting, because when we deal with a system of time, it's either this or it's not. We don't know how to, how does it jump back and forth? Where this, to understand Yahweh's setting of time, then you have this whether it's going to be March or April. But you learn to count and understand that there's a difference between February, March, and March, April. What does that mean? When it says March or April, you're now dealing with either the ending part of March and the beginning part of April. If you go all the way down toward the end of April, now you're in April, May. Mm-hmm. Okay, so why does that even matter? You'll find out as we go further. Now, if I read this same definition and I read Strong's, it says from an unused root, meaning to be tender, green, that is young ear of grain. All right, hence the name of the month Abib. All right, so this green ear, we're then talking about something that is just beginning. We talked about these, fruit trees when I, grew up. When we were young, they were fruit trees everywhere, and all of the time, man, we couldn't wait for that stuff to be ripe. Now, they had some real nice, plum trees around the way, but then they had those plum trees where the plum was straight green. Oh man, I learned every year that was wrong. Cause boy, it tore my stomach up. But you know what happened? I was gonna do the same thing next year. And I'm talking about it was hella bitter. You bite this plum and it's just like, oh man, this plum, you ain't got no business eating this plum, man. This green, man. This plum is not ready. So what do? Get a plate of sugar and dip the bitter plum in the sugar and eat it. And of course I was sick the next day, but I was gonna do it again. When you're young and crazy, stuff like that don't bother you. You tear your guts up and you'll be ready to do it again in a day and a half. I do that now. I'm gonna have convulsions. They might take me to Grady. I will not do that again. But you learn that this green is the beginning of the growth. It ain't ready yet, okay? But it's starting. That's the thing that you got to get out of that. Now I want to back up in Exodus chapter 12. And read verses 1 and 2.
And Yahweh spake unto Moshe and Aaron in the land of Egypt, saying, This month shall be unto you the beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year to you.
All right, so the first month of the year to you. So the beginning of your year then is going to be this March, April. The beginning, the green part of growing. What we're looking at right now, everything that was grown is dying now. I mean, all of the leaves, and we talk about, just how pretty it is. And it is, right? Before the leaves fall, they turn colors and all of that. But then after that, they're coming off. They're falling down. All of that's done. There's no more green anymore. So we're at the beginning, we're at the ending of things. What the heathen about to do? The heathen about to call the complete dead of nothing, they're going to call it the new year. Now, Yahweh says something absolutely opposite. So you didn't have to ask yourself a question. Who would ordain something the opposite of Yahweh? Okay, so now we understand. We have Yahweh's calendar and we got the calendar of that other guy. All right, so Yahweh has his where things are growing. That other guy has his when absolutely nothing is growing. You can't get any more dead than January. There's nothing growing when it comes down to this. So you didn't have to also even look at how Yahweh set up the Sabbath. It is the seventh day, so that would be the last day. What day did the other guy set up? The first day. Isn't the first day the opposite of the last day? Okay, we now see a pattern with that guy. All right, so then we have to pay attention as we go through some things, because sometimes people will bring some things to us and they say, oh my God, this is so deep. Oh, this right here is some higher level intelligence. And you're about to fall into the realm of that guy. Okay, when you start entertaining that. Yahweh's design is simplistic. How can you ask somebody to follow something that they don't understand? That's the question. Can he hold us accountable if we can't understand it? How can he hold us accountable for that? So that's something that we have to take into consideration. So understanding that, this graphic that we're looking at about the seasons, there's something there down at the bottom, and oftentimes we don't really have to deal with it. But when I was asked the question as to why did I start this month and not the other month, because I did look at the other way before, and it kind of, where the days fall, I had an issue with that. So people say, "Oh my God, you're going away from the vernal equinox." No, you're still going to use the vernal equinox. The question is, how do you use the vernal equinox? So when you get down to the bottom of this rotation part, you have vernal equinox March 19th. All right. Then you have, these are all what we call sun signs. All right. Now, the heathens worship these things. All right. You have, after the vernal equinox, you have the summer solstice, June 20th. And then what's interesting, so we were dealing with the equinox, autumnal equinox, September 22nd. Now, why is that even important? Well, as we get to these days, then we're going to figure this out. So if you guys have your farmer's almanac, where you go to your months section, and you're going to pick out at the top, it's going to tell you the new moon. So the first thing you do when you're getting your calendar together is you get all your new moons first. All right? Because, those are days that we observe, that Yahweh has said for us to observe. So we go and we look, we find March the 10th. Now you have to keep looking on there, because, there have been times where I was, just zipping through it, right, to get the months, and I grabbed a month, but then toward the end there was another new moon. So you look for that symbol where it says new moon, because it's possible at times to have two new moons in one regular calendar month. And I can't guarantee you, you might not even notice it. You'll slide by because you're used to just looking at the paper and grabbing those. And the Farmer's Almanac is really good about, that part, so you can just go through and look. All right, so we have March 10th, and this part is alignment at 6:57 a.m. All right, so when we looked at the rotation part of the earth around the sun, and we get our seasons, we see the various tilts that causes us to have those seasons. You're looking at placement that does this. All right, so when we say there's a new moon in March 10th, it says 6:57 a.m. Now I always write down the times, but at the end of the day, you have to wonder, okay, our forefathers would not have known, the exact hour and minute. Okay, so we have to take some of that with a grain of salt. But what happened? What is the concept? The concept of a new moon is it is starting over. Then you have the earth, the sun, and the moon in alignment. That's the beginning. It's in alignment. That causes that moon to be dark. All right? Because it's still on a different angle. All right? Although they're aligned. When they move and they're in line, now you have eclipses and all this other kind of signs. All right? So this happens, this alignment happens every month. So now you have this order. You can look at these phases of the moon where it's going to grow, grow from one side, and then it gets full, and then it starts getting lesser and lesser and lesser until it starts right back over and it's completely dark. And it completes that cycle over and over and over again. So when we get these new moons, this is a totally dark moon, because a totally dark moon is when it is in alignment. You have a lot of people who say, well, no, we keep the sliver. Whatever people want to do. You're talking about the difference of maybe a day and a half. All right. If you keep, this sliver. The key point that Yahweh said was, these things must be kept in their seasons. I am done. When I was younger, new in the word, I was, we can get over here and play battle script, man. I'm not playing battle script with nobody about no day and a half. Mm-hmm. All right, you take your day and a half, and look, go wherever that is you want to go. That we're not going to deal with that. We have much bigger issues than trying to figure out a day and a half and whether you're going to get thrown in the lake of fire for that day and a half. I promise you, you have something else that you've done that is clearly going to be much more of a stronger issue to throw you in the lake of fire than that day and a half you worried about, okay? So let's move on. All right, next month, April 8th, 2:21 p.m. That's new moon. So these are all new moons. May 7th, 11:22 p.m. New moon. June 6th, 8:38 a.m. Alignment. Let me start saying that so though you'll get what I'm saying about the time. All right, new moon. July 5th, new moon. Alignment, 6:57 p.m. August 4th, new moon, 7:13 a.m. Alignment. September 2nd, new moon, 9:56 p.m. Alignment. October 2nd, new moon, 2:49 p.m. Alignment. November 1st, new moon, 8:47 a.m. Alignment. And December the 1st, new moon, 1:21 a.m. Alignment. So now we have our days here for our months. We have to then figure out what is going to be the beginning. Now we have this part where we say, okay, so we're going to use the vernal equinox. If we use the vernal equinox and we say March 19th, all right, vernal equinox is going to be March 19th or March 20th. Okay, and if we don't start our month till then we're going to be at April 8th. What you got?
I just wanted to touch that December actually has two new moons.
Good. Thank you.
There's one on the 30th.
Good. I told you can miss it. Appreciate that, brother. Let me write that down. Which December 30th? 30th? What's the
It's like at 5:27 p.m.
All right. Appreciate that.
No problem.
5:27 p.m. Good deal. And it will sneak up on you because you used to seeing that one dark moon picture in that one calendar month, and once you get it, you stop looking, and then it rolls up on you. All right. So, but if we wait, let's say we have March 19th, and that's the vernal equinox, and then we don't. We say, okay, we're going to start at the new moon after that. That pushes us to April 8th. Mm-hmm. All right. So if we go then to our April 8th, we then have, as we start counting, we're going to notice, and I normally notice this when we get so far down that we are, it's normally all the way by Tabernacles before I start to look at, okay, where are we falling? And when I get to that, I then have to look at, okay, let me back up. So March 19th is our vernal equinox. Mm-hmm. Let's go to, where was it? Where it is written. I want to show you the part where this was easy, the easier part. Let's show you that. Do we have the graphic for last year's holy days? Let's get the graphic for last year, the holy day actually for this year's holy calendar. Okay, so if you go toward the top and we have the vernal equinox. The vernal equinox was on like what?
March 20th.
The 20th. And then the new moon was what? The 21st.
Yep.
Oh my God. You can't get no easier than that. You can't get no easier than that. It was like bada boom, you know, a done deal. Well, now we have a little difference. We had the new moon, because the new moon is going to be what it's going to be, right? It's alignment. So do we deal with the new moon of March 10th, or do we deal with the new moon of April 8th? So we can add up everything, and almost everybody did the April 8th because that's exactly what I did first. But when you get down to the ending of Tabernacles, you start noticing that it's going to fall out. And what does it fall out of? Now, remember that first graphic where we have vernal equinox, March 19th. When you get to autumnal equinox, it's September 22nd. Okay, now when we start getting to this, we're going to see what that autumn part is. Okay, so when we add these up and we get toward the end, we want to look at, you know, how far off. Remember, there's a difference between March, April, and April, May. All right, there's a difference between those, but let's go back to Genesis, because this is where, you know, I was you know, aggressively questioned by my family about, you know, well, you got to tell me how you do. You can't just tell me that you're gonna do this. You have to tell me how you doing this and why you doing this. You know what I'm saying? All right, so let me tell you how we doing this and why we doing this. Read verse 14.
And Elohim said, let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and years.
All right, seasons, for days, and for years. Now let's go to Leviticus chapter 23. Because this is where we have to be to count our days. We have to be at this point to count our days. So we're going to start at Leviticus 23 and verse 1, which seems like it's just coming out of the blue. You know, Yahweh is amazing. You know, he's going to talk about the feast, but then he, you know, just happened to go over this happened. All right, but that is the basis for all the feasts. Okay, so he just not happened to go into it. He actually gave you the foundation. Go ahead.
Leviticus chapter 23 and verse 1. And Yahweh spake unto Moshe, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, concerning the feast of Yahweh, which you shall proclaim to be holy convocations, even these are my feasts. 6 days shall work be done, but the seventh day is the Shabbat of rest, an holy convocation. You shall do no work therein. It is the Shabbat of Yahweh in all your dwellings. These are the feasts of Yahweh, even holy convocations, which you shall proclaim in their season.
Stop. What has to be in the season?
It's holy days. It's feast.
Right. The beginning of Abib is not the feast. The feasts have to be in their season. The season starts with this leaning of this vernal equinox. We get to the point, it was years like last year, piece of cake. 2021, no big deal. All right. But what has to fall, we have to fall within our equinox. All right. So now let's see if we use March 10th as the first new moon of the year. We then read, keep reading.
In the 14th day of the first month at even is Yahweh's Passover. And on the 15th day of the same month is the feast of unleavened bread unto Yahweh. 7 days you must eat unleavened bread.
So in March 10th, if we then say the 14th, then the 10th at sundown is day one. So now we're going to count to day 14 and count those out. And if you start at sundown, count all your days just like that. Don't do the day and then back up. It's going to throw you off. Count it one way and stay on that formula. So if we start at March 10th and we make that March 10th sundown is day one, that's when we keeping the new year, new moon. We count from there. Count 14.
You know, it goes to show how we can introduce something and get used to it. Because
Yes.
when we first started doing our holy days, we did not take the vernal equinox into consideration.
Well, no.
And then we started doing that. Now it's this thing of, no, the vernal equinox, the vernal equinox.
Yep.
So when my family and I we did both.
Yep.
I kind of just did the one that's going to push it out and then looked and said, no, this is out of season.
That's normally how you end up pulling yourself back. All right. So when you count that 14 starting at the 10th, what day did y'all come up with? Count 14. So start at 10. 10 is 1. 10 at sundown is 1. So then the 11th, I do not have a sheet of paper in front of me at all.
I have mine for the wrong days because I just.
Let me get a matter of fact, see if the book is upstairs, or let me get a copy of those days. You want to go ahead? Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. All right, now ain't nobody counting. I come up with the 23rd at sundown. All right, that's what you got. 23rd at sundown. Guess where? Thank you, sir. Guess where the 23rd at sundown is? After the vernal equinox. We still use the vernal equinox. We just didn't wait until the vernal equinox to do it. Because at that point, we push back, then that means we would be starting at April 8th. And I completely understand everybody who did it that way, because that would have been my original thing as well. But normally I'll get all the way down and then look back at it and say, no, this is a little too far off. Now, part of that too is when you go back to these new moons. So we have March 10th. If we say that's month 1. So we got March, that's 1, April 2, May 3, June 4, July 5th, August 6th, September 7th. All right, here we go. What does Septem mean? 7. After September is October. What is an octagon have? 8 sides. That is the 8th month. November is November. November means 9. Okay? Decem is 10. The decimal system is based on tens. So we have 7, 8, 9, 10 in a row. What upsets the count? Because people say, wait a minute, how you count 7, 8, 9, 10? Because July and August was added for Julius and Augustus Caesar. So you take the Caesars out and the months make sense. September 7, October 8, November 9, December 10. 7, 8, 9, 10. It's those two guys that come in and run amok with your count. That's why we automatically, when we see December, we said it's the 12th month. December is the 10th month. But because of these additions, that causes us to think along those lines, because that's the first thing that we were given. So that helps back that up as well. And we're going to go back to another date as we do that as we get further down. So that was Passover. So we have March 23rd at sundown for Passover. Verse 5 says, in the 14th day of the first month at even is Yahweh's Passover. On the 15th day of the same month is the feast of unleavened bread unto Yahweh. 7 days you must eat unleavened bread. So the 15th day then is going to be the next day. March 24th at sundown begins the feast of unleavened bread. Now, that then has to last 7 days, right? So count, where's that? March 24th. If March 24th is the first one,
30th at sundown.
Count 7 days. So we got 24th is 1, 25th 2. I mess up every time I do that. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's right. 30th at sundown. So 30th at sundown is the last day or day 7. So, I'll write that down here because I didn't. And that is 7th day. And that's the 30th at sundown. All right, so now let's go from there. Let's start at verse 7 and keep going.
In the first day you shall have an holy convocation. You shall do no servile work therein.
So then March 24th then should be marked as a Sabbath. See, as much as we do all of these things that, that people will talk about, Passover and all of this, it's Feast of Unleavened Bread where the Sabbath is. The first day of Feast of Unleavened Bread is a Sabbath. So you then designate that as your Sabbath. So March 24th at sundown is a Sabbath. So if don't know what that day is, what's 24th? That was a Sunday, all right? So what day you need off from work?
Monday.
See, when I first started this, hey, we are amazing glancers, all right? We glance at something, throw all that in, and then when it get time, we be like, what you mean I got the wrong deal? Because we glanced at it, all right? This says all of these days say at sundown. So that means the day following that is the Sabbath. Because we're going to start like in darkness. So that means that day, it starts in darkness, and all of that next day is the Sabbath. That's when we are not going to do any work. So make sure that when you do get your days off, that you're paying attention to the day off needs to be the day after what you see listed on the calendar. So you don't look and see the 25th or the 24th and say, I need the 24th off. No, you need the 25th off. So make sure you know that, because one of the reasons why we understand that we're in the daughter of Babylon, and it's not just automatic that we're going to be able to get these days here. Okay. The faster you're able to put in, this is the time that I need, the better off you're going to be. Because if you wait too late to put these things in, now you're having an issue, and people saying, well, you know what? I'm just gonna leave my job. No. That ain't what I suggest. I suggest you should have put your stuff in on time. Now you want to argue and throw a hissy fit. No. We still in the daughter of Babylon. Okay? Understand that. All right. So we have that's a Sabbath. And now I'll keep reading.
But you shall offer an offering made by fire unto Yahweh 7 days. In the 7th day is an holy convocation. You shall do no servile work therein.
All right. So then the 30th at sundown is a Sabbath as well then, right? Mm-hmm. It said holy convocation. All right. So I got to write Sabbath right here. Because when it says holy convocation, see, this is the difference in the dedication level that people have, when it gets time to serve their Elohim. A holy convocation means that, hey, there's certain things that you're going to cut out. There's some things that you're going to sanctify. There's some things that you're going to do to make sure that the gathering is holy. Convocation is gathering. A lot of individuals have a gathering. He said a holy convocation. Now, if the gathering is going to be holy, then there's certain things that we're not going to do. There's certain ways we're not going to appear. So that's the part that we have to remember. Keep going.
But you shall offer an offering made by fire unto Yahweh 7 days. In the 7th day is an holy convocation. You shall do no servile work therein.
All right.
And Yahweh spake unto Moshe, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, When you be come into the land which I give unto you, and shall reap the harvest thereof, then you shall bring a sheaf of the first fruits of your harvest unto the priest. And he shall wave the sheaf before Yahweh to be accepted for you. On the morrow after the Shabbat, the priest shall wave it.
All right. On the morrow after the Shabbat. What Shabbat is he dealing with? Well, the first day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread is a Shabbat. The day following is going to be the first fruits. So then it flows in order then. If we have Passover the 23rd at sundown, Feast of Unleavened Bread the 24th at sundown, then the Feast of First Fruits is going to be the 25th at sundown. 23rd, 24th, 25th. Keep going.
And you shall offer that day, when you wave the sheaf and he lamb without blemish of the first year, for a burnt offering unto Yahweh. And the meat offering thereof shall be 2/10 deals of fine flour mingled with oil, an offering made by fire unto Yahweh for a sweet savor. And the drink offering thereof shall be of wine, the 4th part of an hin. And you shall eat neither bread, nor parched corn, nor green ears, until the selfsame day that you have brought an offering unto your Elohim. It shall be a statute forever throughout your generations in all your dwellings.
All right. So now, when we talk about this Feast of First Fruits, now remember, now we're already dealing with, this beginning. We have this growth that's taking place, and we then have our first fruits, and Yahweh calls for a offering and an appearance of the children of Israel. So if that offering is not done during the Feast of Unleavened Bread, is when the first fruits is, you shall eat neither, verse 14, neither bread, nor parched corn, nor green ears until the selfsame day that you have brought an offering unto your Elohim. That greatly restricts your eating. And I do mean greatly. So If we get to that point and we have not offered an offering unto our Elohim, every time we put something in our mouth, we sin it. Now think about the sin that we know we have done. We know we've fallen short. Man, you can't remember every piece of corn you ate.
Mm-hmm.
Man, you know how much stuff made with corn? You have an idea how many times if you don't keep this right, how many things? He said, you shall not eat neither bread nor parched corn nor green ears until you have brought that offering. What happened if you don't bring it and you keep eating that stuff? So when we go down on our knees to pray about our sin, how many people say, I should not have gone to Club Watusis and I should not have eaten that tortilla that was wrong. I don't think the tortilla is going to be in the prayer. I don't think you're going to remember. Once you done went to Club Watusis, I'm pretty sure you're going to forget about that tortilla. I'm pretty sure about that. But see, this is order. Yahweh is our Elohim that brings sustenance to us. Then when those things produce for you, you offer him the first of your increase. This is the difference between what Cain gave and what Abel gave. Cain gave some stuff. Abel gave the first of his fruit. First fruit. Now you got to think about how holy then was Abel. Abel offered first fruit before there was a holy day called first fruit. Holiness was just in him. See, there's some people you got to beat them over the head to make them do this. They'll always give like the offering of Cain. They're going to bring their leftover. They're going to bring the stuff they found in the sofa. They going it was some lint and some bubble gum in the left pocket. Then they're going to put the lint and keep the bubble gum. There's a difference. It's automatic. But here's the thing. Abel didn't do it because it was a law. That's not why he did it. So we're talking about automatically. There's a heart of wickedness and there's a heart of good and pure toward Elohim without the law. Because how was Cain able to go so evil so quick? I mean, he got angry and automatically, right away, he's looking for a convenient time to kill his brother. How did he get so angry so fast? It was already in him to get angry that fast and move. It says be angry, but sin not. So we automatically find two different hearts there, even when we deal with that. So now let's go to verse 15.
And you shall count unto you from the morrow after the Shabbat.
Now, from the morrow after the Shabbat. So then we then go to first fruits, and because it says the morrow after the Shabbat. Read that.
From the day that you brought the sheaf of the wave offering.
All right. So we brought the wave offering on first fruit. Then we find the first weekly Sabbath after that. So then, where did we bring that offering? That was the 25th.
Mm-hmm.
So then we go down to the 25th. And then the first Sabbath is going to be on the 30th. So we then have to count 7 Sabbaths to get to this Feast of Weeks. So there's 7 weeks, hence the name Feast of Weeks. Keep reading.
7 Shabbats shall be complete. Even on to the morrow after the 7th Shabbat shall you number 50 days. And you shall offer a new meat offering unto Yahweh.
All right. So then we need to count 50 days from the 30th. So then we got 7 Sabbaths. You can go here and count the Sabbath. This one right here is real easy to get wrong. Because by the time this little writing right here, by the time you count to 49, you might be cross-eyed. So these right here I've done a couple of times. So from the Sabbath of March 30th, which is the first Sabbath after we brought the wave offering, we count 7 Sabbaths. So count 7 Sabbaths. And then the day after will be your Pentecost. So when I counted that, I came up with May 18th. What did your count say? Mm-hmm. I am not about to do 50 again. I got cross-eyed the first time I did that. So I'm going to let y'all, and feel free if you have any questions about how we're getting to any of this, please, email the uci.org at gmail.com. All right? Because before we went over this like 3 and 4 times, we are not going to keep doing that. We're going to go over it. I'm going to refer you back to the same class. Now go over it. And then if you have something different, present it. Now, I understand why most of them were different, and you're about to figure out how or why we did that in a second. All right. So we didn't have our Feast of Weeks, May 18th at sundown. What else did it say about that? Keep reading.
You shall bring out of your habitations 2 wave loaves of 2 tenth deals. They shall be of fine flour. They shall be baken with leaven. They are the first fruits unto Yahweh. And you shall offer with the bread 7 lambs without blemish of the first year, and 1 young bullock, and 2 rams. They shall be for a burnt offering unto Yahweh, with their meat offering, and their drink offerings, even an offering made by fire of sweet savor unto Yahweh. Then you shall sacrifice 1 kid of the goats for a sin offering, and 2 lambs of the first year for a sacrifice of peace offerings. And the priest shall wave them with the bread of the first fruits for a wave offering before Yahweh. With the 2 lambs, they shall be holy to Yahweh for the priest. And you shall proclaim on the selfsame day, that it may be an holy convocation unto you. You shall do no servile work therein. It shall be a statute forever in all your dwellings throughout your generations.
All right. And you shall proclaim on the selfsame day that it may be a holy convocation. So anytime we see the words holy convocation, we know it's a Sabbath. So then now, right beside that, we have to put Sabbath. Keep reading.
And when you reap the harvest of your land, you shall not make clean riddance of the corners of your field when you reap it.
Now, this is something that is strange to us, because we especially being raised in the daughter of Babylon, and although we are being, we go through our own system of persecution here, but we have gotten accustomed to a very, very privileged life here in the daughter of Babylon, and we don't really understand that of, like what other people are going through in other countries. We look at it and it just becomes like a headline to us. We don't really see how tumultuous it is if the main bridge that, got you to your job is blown up. We don't even consider it. I mean, that may add like 3 to 4 hours to your commute. So if it adds 3 to 4 hours to your commute, you got to understand what that means. That means 3 more hours to get to work and 3 more hours to get home. Wait a minute. You just lost 6 hours out of every day. And you haven't done anything that you like to do. We don't really consider, those things and how we have been, privileged, even though, we're still going through our own punishments. Yahweh has granted us some relief, but the hard labor that our ancestors have been forced to undergo. Go ahead.
Neither shall you gather any gleaning of your harvest. You shall leave them onto the poor and to the stranger. I'm Yahweh your Elohim.
Right. So everything that you get then is not for you. We say it's my field, all the fruit mine is. No. I'm gonna make that fruit. I'm gonna make it ripen at different times. I'm not gonna let all of it go so that you can just go. You're gonna realize if I pick these green plums, I'm gonna have the aches. I can't eat these. Okay, then you're gonna leave those. And then they're not going to be ready when the rest of the stuff is ready. Yahweh was providing for the stranger and the poor. Take that back to our own check. We said, man, we got a raise. We automatically have something to do with that money.
I automatically, I saw this little she shed I'm going to get built. And it goes right aligned with the new money.
We never considered maybe that was for you to help somebody else.
Help somebody. I am helping somebody. Me.
Right. See, so Yahweh has automatically designed this, now this was easier to do. You see how he helps us? What are you going to do? Like what genius is going to pick the green plums knowing they ain't right?
Just so he can say, these mine.
He's not going to do that. Doesn't make any sense. Then that helped us not covet. But when we start getting checks, now wait a minute. You can't tell me all that check ain't mine. It's got my name on the whole thing. Now that changes how we operate now. And not even that. You have to consider we get paid. We have never seen one drop of currency. All we saw was some numbers on a piece of paper. And then we go to our account, and then there are numbers on the account. You never saw $1. You don't even know what, the money worth of your week looks like. Because all you ever seen was numbers. You mess around and actually get it cash one day, and you might look at it strange. You're like, man, I made this much money. Because you're accustomed not to seeing it. But that also helps us not do these things. Go ahead.
And Yahweh spake unto Moshe, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, In the 7th month, in the 1st day of the month, shall you have a Shabbat, a memorial of blowing of trumpets, and holy convocation. You shall do no servile work therein, but you shall offer an offering made by fire unto Yahweh.
All right, so then now if we're going to do that, then we have to go back up to our months. We had the new moons, right? So then March 1, April 8th, the 2nd, May 7th, the 3rd, June 6th is the 4th, July 5th is the 5th, August 6th, September the 2nd is the 7th. September means what? 7. So now we have the 7th month, and it says that is the Feast of Trumpets, and it also said that it was a holy convocation. So then our Feast of Trumpets is already added up for us because the new moon designates it by the 7th month. So September the 2nd at sundown is the Feast of Trumpets, and whenever it says holy convocation, it's a Sabbath. So all of the new moons are not Sabbaths. This new moon is a Sabbath. So now you go back to the things that were read before. In the beginning, Leviticus 23 and verse 1, it says, And Yahweh spake unto Moshe, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, concerning the feast of Yahweh, which you shall proclaim to be holy convocation, even these are my feasts. So he mentions the feast. Then it seems like he's going somewhere else. 6 days shall work be done, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of rest and holy convocation. You shall do no work therein. It is the Sabbath of Yahweh in all your dwellings. Then he starts talking about the Passover. It looks like they're disconnected, but they're not. All of those days are based on the holiness of the Sabbath. So we have to keep that in mind as we go through those things. So then he has set aside this Feast of Trumpets, this new moon, as a holy convocation. So it's not like any other new moon. Okay? That's actually what set apart means. It's set apart. It's not like everything else. Okay? We have to remember that. Keep reading.
And Yahweh spake unto Moshe, saying, Also on the 10th day of the 7th month there shall be a day of atonement. It shall be a holy convocation unto you, and you shall afflict your souls, and offer an offering made by fire unto Yahweh.
All right. So then if we have the Day of Atonement, it says also on the 10th day of this 7th month. So then the new moon Feast of Trumpets, September 2nd, is day 1. And it says we need the 10th day of the month. So then now we're going to count from September. We're going to count from September the 2nd, and then we're going to go down to the 10th, at which September 2nd being number 1. So then the 3rd is 2, and we go 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I ended up with September 11th at sundown being the Day of Atonement. All right, Day of Atonement, September 11th. Now, if we have that right there, you keep your finger right there, because rather than start over, you just keep your count going. All right, so keep reading.
And you shall do no work in that same day, for it is a day of atonement, to make an atonement for you before Yahweh your El.
All right, so then we know then September 11th at sundown then is a Sabbath. All right, because we saw the same words. We saw holy convocation. Go ahead.
For whatsoever soul it be that shall not be afflicted in that same day, he shall be cut off from among his people. And whatsoever soul it be that does any work in that same day, the same soul will I destroy from among his people.
Right. So not only are we not working, but we are also fasting. When you talk about afflicting your soul, it is amazing that there's doctrines that say just not working was an affliction. Then that means every Sabbath leading up to it was an affliction. And that's the problem. Go ahead.
You shall do no manner of work. It shall be a statute forever throughout your generations in all your dwellings. It shall be unto you a Sabbath of rest, and you shall afflict your souls. And the 9th day of the month at even, from even unto even, shall you celebrate your Shabbat.
Right. The 9th day at even is the 10th. All right. Remember, it begins at even. Go ahead.
And Yahweh spake unto Moshe, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, The 15th day of the 7th month shall be the Feast of Tabernacles for 7 days unto Yahweh.
All right. So now we need to get to the 15th day. Now remember, at the atonement on the 11th, we was at day 10. So if the 11th was at day 10, then the 12th is 11th. Then we got 12, 13, 14. I don't confuse myself. Where I'm at, 11th. All right, September 11th. All right, so 11th was 10, right? All right, so then we got, so that's 10, that's 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So September 16th at sundown. Is that what you got? All right, so then that is the beginning. All right, it says, and then it says on the first day shall be a holy convocation. So then we know then The first day of the Feast of Tabernacles is a Sabbath. So we need to write Sabbath in parentheses there. So now, keep reading.
On the first day shall be an holy convocation. You shall do no servile work therein. 7 days you shall offer an offering made by fire unto Yahweh. On the 8th day shall be an holy convocation unto you, and you shall offer an offering made by fire unto Yahweh. It is a solemn assembly, and you shall do no servile work therein.
All right, so now we have to count. This is 8 days. All right, and the 8th is going to be that last day. So then we have our Feast of Tabernacles first day was on the 16th. So that's day 1. So now we got to count to day 8. So if the 16th is day 1, then the 17th is day 2, and so on and so on. Keep counting.
These are the feasts of Yahweh, which you shall proclaim to be holy convocations, to offer an offering made by fire.
Well, what date did you get? If you count down, starting from the 16th, and we're supposed to get to day 8,
23rd.
the 23rd at sundown. That will then be day 8. All right? Now keep reading.
These are the feasts of Yahweh, which you shall proclaim to be holy convocations, to offer an offering made by fire unto Yahweh, a burnt offering and a meat offering, a sacrifice and drink offerings, everything upon his day. Besides the Shabbats of Yahweh, and besides your gifts, and besides all your vows, and beside all your freewill offerings, which you give unto Yahweh. Also, in the 15th day of the 7th month, when you have gathered in the fruit of the land, you shall keep a feast unto Yahweh 7 days. On the first day shall be a Shabbat, and on the 8th day shall be a Shabbat. And you shall take you on the first day the boughs of goodly trees, branches of palm trees, and the boughs of thick trees and willows of the brook. And you shall rejoice before Yahweh your Elohim 7 days. And you shall keep it a feast unto Yahweh 7 days in the year. It shall be a statute forever in your generations. You shall celebrate it in the 7th month. You shall dwell in booths 7 days. All that a Israelite born shall dwell in booths, that your generations may know that I made the children of Israel to dwell in booths. When I brought them out of the land of Egypt, I am Yahweh your Elohim. And Moshe declared unto the children of Israel the feasts of Yahweh.
All right. Now, we have to, that question that I said we were going to go back to. Remember this, tabernacles, we are now done. Remember, we began with planting, right? We end with harvesting. All of these are within the growing season, if you understand what Yahweh is doing, all right? This is the sustenance that he's providing for man to feed man. But at the end of this, the growing season is primarily done. So then we end tabernacles here, September 23rd. Now, go back up to those seasons with the vernal equinox. Can we go back to that graphic? Let's find the one that had the rotation, the orbits on it, and under it, it had, there we go, it had the vernal equinox, summer solstice. Now, the opposite of the vernal equinox was the autumnal equinox. All right, look at that date, September 22nd. Now go and look at the date of our Feast of Tabernacles. We are within this time. It doesn't mean that it has to fall on this day, but we have to be within this. We're going to remember when we read the definition, when it talked about, it said March, April, not April, May. All right. So then when we start talking about the opposite part of our holy days, see, that was the beginning. Then we deal with the ending. We then are right in the autumnal equinox. But if we go to late October, now we're out of it. See, we this is where you look at how far you go down within that October. So this is why you look at, okay, this is how we're going to have to deal with the vernal equinox, and it's because of where the new moon falls within it. Okay, because that's what we're looking for. We're trying to make sure that we are within these seasons. That doesn't mean that we have to start counting at that point, and it doesn't mean that our very first thing has to be right there. It means that those holy days has to be within those seasons. Okay, so that was a little curveball this year. Yeah, 2 new moons in December. We did miss that one originally on I think December 30th. Thank you, Priest Kish, for that. What else you got, brother?
You know, as we're going over this and we're looking at the seasons and the darkness and all that, you know, it just dealing with the harvesting, and you were talking about, you know, the adversary and the opposite days. It now brings a whole new meaning when we're looking at these holy days of how Yahweh said, I'm the El of the living, not of the dead.
Right.
You know, we always think of that as people,
right,
dead people, but now you got to put it over to his holy days and the harvesting.
Mm-hmm. And you know, right off the rip, you notice the difference in the seasons, right? As the leaves are changing colors, they're dying. Okay. Then all of a sudden, here come these winds, and the leaves are falling. I mean, you can't get them up fast enough. But now those winds are coming right as these leaves have no more strength. You know, so it's like clockwork. All of the things that are happening, and it's if you back up and you look at even the times where there were storms, the wind had to be hard to blow the leaves off the tree. Mm-hmm. It's you know, they're stronger at the point of living. Okay, they're weaker at this point where they're falling off. So that was why I was saying pay attention to not only the vernal equinox but the autumnal equinox as well, and then we see that we are within that season. So and like I said, everybody who did them, who had been watching and sent theirs in, I mean, everybody did the same thing. I originally looked at it because I knew, okay, once I get to the end, it's going to tell me whether or not we are within. Because you can argue that you'll still be within in the beginning. Okay? There's absolutely nothing wrong with April when you start. But when you get down to Tabernacles at the end, this is where you start looking at where you're ending up. So that's something that you have to deal with there. So go over, listen to those things, see what you have, what you need to do. Send us questions if you have questions. If you have, you're trying to figure out exactly how we arrived at certain things, just send your question in. But this is how we're dealing with that. We had a question, and one of the questions I think we'll get to this, and it says, is there a specific dress code besides modesty? And I think that was coming from a sister. So I want you to read what, and these are things that we read after the Shabbat to the individuals who are here. Go ahead, read that, bro.
The UCI has a dress code whenever you are in attendance at this facility. This dress code will be strictly enforced at all times. All females must wear skirts or dresses that reach below their knees. Your shirt must cover your cleavage. Sisters must have a full head covering at all times, and no makeup should be worn on the Shabbat. All brothers must wear shirts to cover their loins. No shorts are allowed. All brothers must wear your pants on your waist. No undergarments should be seen. If you have questions concerning the dress code, please see one of the associate priests.
All right. So when you're talking about, modesty in apparel, we have to remember that we are, going to be held accountable for not only the things that we've done, but the things that we have encouraged. See, so when we decide to come out dressed a certain way, did we consider who we may have encouraged to sin? We don't really think about that, because the world tells us that as long as we're getting attention, that we're hey, that this is what we want. But then when we get that wrong attention and it backfires, it's funny. Sometimes the same outfits that people wear to get attention, they have specific people who they want that attention from, though. So then when they get the attention from somebody they don't like, get away from me, you old creep. Wait a minute. When you put that on, you didn't say no creeps allowed to look at me. Wait a minute. Everybody with eyes was going to look at you. So that can't change based upon who looks. So I want to go into a few things, because I've heard these things about that whole just come as you are, and God will accept you any kind of way. So let's go to Matthew chapter 22.
Well, we go to brother. Did you see the video I sent out the other day about the gym?
Yeah.
Where more and more men are starting to stop going to the gym because women are coming in there inappropriately dressed, but then videoing, look at this creep, he's looking at me. That's what you went to the gym for? And you can see guys looking at them and just shaking their head like. So dress code is starting to become a factor, even in something as simple as the gym.
Yeah, my gym is my office. Because you go in the gym and you find out the first thing is fashion show first, And I mean, it's every, don't just think, you're going in there and oh, these creeps are looking at me. Wait a minute, everybody looking at everybody. I saw, I go in there and I seen the most muscular gay guys I had ever seen in my life. And I mean, this dude had muscles everywhere. I ain't never seen nobody work out gay. I mean, he was just living there. He just had the arms inside. But I mean, this cat was ripped. I mean, he had neck muscles. I mean, this dude was ripped up. But he was in there campaigning, just like standing right in front of the mirror, gay lifting. I said, wow. I said, you know what, man? I'm going home. I am going home. This I ain't got no business being up in here with this right here, because it has turned into one of those things. And how we are when we do something, we want to do everything that go along with it. So they say, if this is how you exercise, then everybody have on the same type exercise stuff. So then now you putting on what you seeing everybody else put on. And then we realize that we have crossed the line when it goes down to that. So Matthew chapter 22, and go ahead and start at verse 1.
And Yahshua answered and spake unto them again by parables, and said, the kingdom of heaven is like unto a certain king, which made a marriage for his son, and sent forth his servants to call them that were bidden to the wedding, and they would not come.
Now, if we read in here, it says, the marriage supper. Okay, so when he starts talking about, this wedding feast, wait a minute, there's a connection here. Go ahead.
Again, he sent forth other servants, saying, Tell them which are bidden, behold, I have prepared my dinner, my oxen and my fatlings are killed, and all things are ready. Come on to the marriage.
Now, the point, this line right here, verse 4, I don't think people understand the importance of it. Again, he sent forth other servants, saying, tell them what you're bidden. Behold, I have prepared my dinner. Why is he? You're talking about this wedding feast. You're talking about you prepare your dinner. What is he talking about? Look at how much care that people have gone through to prepare this, and you're just gonna throw your leftover happenings at it. This is preparation. You don't just get to the dinner. No. You got to prep that. You got to season that. You got to clean this. You got to do all of these things. And all I require is for you to put forth some effort before you show up. It's work that has been done to put this together. So now you see the difference. Sometimes, there's some who just want to keep Holy Convocation. And then there's others who've been working 2 days before the Sabbath. They say, it's magic, man. It's like the Sabbath meal. You go there, man, and it's just that. No, somebody cook that. Go ahead.
But they made light of it and went their ways.
They made light of it. Go ahead.
One to his farm, another to his merchandise. And the remnant took his servants and entreated them spitefully and slew them.
Right. When the servants are being busy preparing the dinner, the oxen and the fatlings are killed, and all things are made ready, come unto the marriage, the others persecute them. They make light of it. They don't really respect the things that they are doing to make the wedding feast able to be presented. Go ahead.
In that same token, when you show up in any kind of way, you're also showing that you're making light of it.
No doubt. You are making light of it when you show up any old kind of way. Go ahead.
But when the king heard thereof, he was angry, and he sent forth his armies and destroyed those murderers and burnt up their city. Then saith he to his servants, the wedding is ready, but they which were bidden were not worthy. Go you therefore into the highways, and as many as you shall find, bid to the marriage. So those servants went out into the highways and gathered together all as many as they found, both good and bad, and the wedding was furnished with guests. And when the king came in to see the guests, he saw there a man which had not on a wedding garment.
Now check this out. He is checking this individual because they are not properly attired for the event. Go ahead.
But it was furnished with good and bad, so that means the bad knew how to present themselves.
Right. Check that out. Go ahead.
And he saith unto him, Friend, how came you in hither not having a wedding garment? And he was speechless.
Now, here's where I keep trying to tell people about that neutral thing. He has nothing to say. He has nothing to offer. How did you come in not having a wedding garment? You came to a wedding without a wedding garment. Now we go to the gym. We got gym shorts. Okay. Go ahead.
Then said the king to the servants, Bind him hand and foot, and take him away, and cast him into outer darkness. There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth.
All right. For many are called, but few are chosen. Let's go to Proverbs chapter 7. Proverbs chapter 7, and we're going to read, start at verse 1.
My son, keep my words and lay up my commandments with you. Keep my commandments and live, and my law as the apple of your eye. Bind them upon your fingers, write them upon the table of your heart. Say unto wisdom, you are my sister, and call understanding your kinswoman, that they may keep you from the strange woman, from the stranger which flatters with her words. For at the window of my house I looked through my casement, and beheld among the simple ones, I discerned among the youth, a young man void of understanding. passing through the street near her corner, and he went the way to her house. In the twilight, in the evening, in the black and dark night. And behold, there met him a woman with the attire of an harlot and subtle of heart.
Wait a minute. She had on the clothing of a harlot. So now we have we've saw two types of garments. We have a wedding garment, which for men and women. Then we have there met a woman with the attire or the clothing of a harlot. So wait a minute. So now, individuals are being considered. Like people like to say, don't judge me. No, they're being considered based upon the attire that they have on. Let's go to Genesis chapter 38.
And as you going through that, she's not done no action. He just looked out the window and saw how she was dressed.
Hey, attire of a harlot. So just looking at, is he wrong to assume that she's a harlot? Because she has on a harlot's uniform. He automatically assumes that this is what she is. Now, that may not be what she is. Maybe she just, wanted to, go out and see how the daughters of men live. But I tell you what, she getting treated like a harlot tonight. Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. So Genesis 38, and let's start that at verse 1.
And it came to pass at that time that Yehudah went down from his brethren and turned into a certain Adullamite whose name was Hira. And Yehudah saw there a daughter of a certain Canaanite whose name was Shua. And he took her and went in unto her.
Now, Judah saw there a certain Canaanite. All right. So he is producing children from the Canaanite. I need you just sit there for a second, because Yahweh gave us some instructions on dealing with some things. Go ahead.
And she conceived and bare a son, and he called his name
Uh-huh.
And she conceived again and bare a son, and she called his name Onan.
Uh-huh.
And she yet again conceived and bare a son, and called his name Shelah. And he was at Chezib when she bare him. And Yehudah took a wife for his firstborn, whose name was Tamar. And Yehudah's firstborn, was wicked in the sight of Yahweh, and Yahweh slew him.
All right, so Yahweh done slew one of them. Go ahead.
And Yehudah said unto Onan, Go in unto your brother's wife, and marry her, and raise up seed to your brother. And Onan knew that the seed should not be his, and it came to pass, when he went in unto his brother's wife, that he spilled it on the ground, lest that he should give seed to his brother.
Now, that he knew the reason he was supposed to be going there is to raise up seed. He could have said, no, I ain't going in. But he went in. Yeah. So Yahweh, oh no, if you wasn't going to go, you shouldn't have went. Mm-hmm. But now you're going to do that. That's utterly wicked. Go ahead.
And the thing which he did displease Yahweh, wherefore he slew him also.
So that's the second Canaanite-ish son that he done got killed. Okay? Go ahead.
Then said Yehudah to Tamar his daughter-in-law, Remain a widow at your father's house till Shelah my son be grown. For he said, Lest peradventure he die also, as his brethren did. And Tamar went and dwelt in her father's house. And it came, and in the process of time, the daughter of Shua, Yehudah's wife, died. And Yehudah was comforted, and went up unto his sheep shearers to Timnath, he and his friend Hira the Adullamite.
Now, we have to wonder, you have to look at this, okay, this whole scenario. What was Judah afraid of? Like, okay, yes, the two of his boys was seen wicked, and, they were killed. Yahweh took care of, their business. He was angry about how they operated. What did he think Tamar was going to bring out of the last boy? Because it now looks like, okay, he is Judah who went unto the Canaanite. Now he has these sons who he's picking Israelite women for. They keep dying. Uh-oh. Go ahead.
And it was told Tamar, saying, behold, your father-in-law goes up to Timnath to shear his sheep.
Now, this Judah's wife has died, so he feeling a certain kind of way. Go ahead.
And she put her widow's garments off from her.
Wait a minute. Widow's garments. So there are garments that say this is a widow. What is a widow? This is a woman whose husband has passed away. She has clothing that says that she's a widow. They can look at her and tell that she's a widow. So now we have to back up. So we got a wedding garment, we have a widow's garment, and we got a whore's garment. Okay, keep reading.
And covered her with a veil, and wrapped herself, and sat in an open place, which is by the way to Timnath. For she saw that Shelah was grown, and she was not given on to him to wife.
So then she's got a strong suspicion of what Judah gonna do when he go down to this place. Go ahead.
When Yehuda saw her, he thought her to be an harlot, because she had covered her face.
Stop. So because she had on certain clothing, he considered her to be a whore. And what does he do? He started negotiating the price. Go ahead.
And he turned on to her by the way, and said, go to, I pray you, let me come in unto you. For he knew not that she was his daughter-in-law. And she said, what will you give me, that you may come in unto me?
It's price negotiation. He didn't ask her if she was a harlot. He automatically assumed by the clothing that she had on that she must be an harlot. And then he treated her as such. He treated her as she dressed. Now, in her defense, when she was dressed in a widow's garment, he didn't treat her as such. But now he's looking for a harlot. So she put on harlot's clothing, and she's being treated like a harlot. Good?
The sad thing is today we don't know what a harlot's garment is. Like you said, we specifically can see they know what a wedding garment is.
Right.
They see what a harlot's garment is. They know what the widow, the wedding garment, the whole nine. So she deliberately put on a harlot's outfit.
Yeah.
So how is it in this day and age we don't differentiate with clothing?
It's rather interesting, isn't it? Matter of fact, we will feel some type of way if somebody says something about our clothing. Then we go in defense mode. This was just accepted. This was not, something where, oh, he judging me. No. There wasn't even any, real question or dialogue here. He walks up, so what's the going rate in this thing? What? Go ahead.
And he said, I will send you a kid from the flock. And she said, what will you give me? Will you give me a pledge till you send it? And he said, what pledge shall I give you? And she said, your signet and your bracelets and your staff that is in your hand. And he gave it her and came in unto her, and she conceived by him. And she arose and went away and laid by her veil from her, and put on the garments of her widowhood.
Oh, wait a minute. Now she done transformed back to the widow's garment. Now, what she had, this veil over her face, she covered her face. Well, wait a minute. When we go to these other individuals in the Middle East, these people cover their face. So now when you start mixing things, and we don't understand just how simple one change in culture is. You have all of the women of that culture covering their face. Here, a Hebrew woman that covers her face is a whore. Now, you see how, let's say if one of them women travel too far and come to where the Hebrews are, and all of a sudden brothers is asking them,
So what's your price range?
what? There's a difference in culture. So take that same thing and twist it. What if we go somewhere, one of our sisters with tight jeans on, and got some boots on, some boots, and we going in marching, and then those people ask you, so how much? Will you then be offended? Interesting question. Go ahead.
Even when you look at Tamar, there was some planning, because this wasn't just to have happy time. The time frame of which she did it,
Right.
it said she conceived.
Yep. And we know there's an equation for conception. Okay. There's an equation, and nobody knows that like a woman who is trying to have a kid, and he done hid this boy from her after she done already waited on two. Done had to deal with them, and they, it ended up being some mess. And then he refused to bring this one. Go ahead.
And Yehuda sent the kid by the hand of his friend the Adullamite to receive his pledge from the woman's hand, but he found her not. Then he asked the man of that place, saying, Where is the harlot that was openly by the wayside? And they said, There was no harlot in this place.
Mm-hmm.
And he returned to Yehuda and said, I cannot find her. And also the men of the place said that there was no harlot in this place. And Yehuda said, Let her take it to her, lest we be shamed. Behold, I sent this kid, and you have not found her. And it came to pass about 3 months after that it was told Yehuda, saying, Tamar, your daughter-in-law, has played the harlot.
Now, do you see how heavy the weight is on a woman? This woman is a widow. And they have not brought the younger son in unto her. They automatically say she done played the harlot. So she was expected to be without being with anyone for all that time. Go ahead.
And also, behold, she is with child by whoredom. And Yehuda said, Bring her forth, and let her be burnt.
He got the lighter fluid in the match. Go ahead.
When she was brought forth, she sent to her father-in-law, saying, By the man whose these are, am I with child? And she said, Discern, I pray you, whose are these, the signet and bracelets and staff? And Yehuda acknowledged them and said, She has been more righteous than I, because that I gave her not to Shelah my son, and he knew her again no more.
Now, you're looking at all levels of righteous judgment here. Okay? Does this woman get judged for playing the harlot? As there's a refusal to deal with her in this whole perception of who she is. So when you say, as the original question talked about, the dress code, is it just modesty? Where is the modesty line? Because modesty changes depending on who you are. What's modest up north ain't what's modest down south. Because we know when it get hot, you start seeing parts of bodies that you didn't see in other places. So you get us in a place where it's cold, then you automatically not gonna see certain things. So what level of modesty there? That all depends on the surroundings and the thought process of the people. But then you have still, even on Judah's part, he has done wrong. Even though once it is brought to him, he automatically not only acknowledges his wrong, but he understood. I can't go in unto that woman no more. Now, how many of us then, because we have done wrong, now
I might as well go and do wrong the rest of my life at this point, because, wrong is what wrong does, and I want to be consistently wrong. I don't want to be partially wrong. I want to be wrong in realness. See, I want to be wrong in rightness.
So now we're dealing with that. No. Yeah, I messed up. I did. But he ain't going into it no more. That's something that we have to deal with. So in the question about that, this is why we have, a dress code. It does matter whether we want to look at it and say, oh, these people are being judged. Hey, call it what you want to call it. When he came in to the wedding feast and saw somebody without a wedding garment, he was judged. So that's all that we're going to do for tonight. Go back over these things. If you have any questions, please send it to theuci.org@gmail.com. And we'll go over it ourselves. But if there are no objections, then we will finalize the calendar. All right. Priest Kish, would you lead us out in prayer, please?
Yes, sir. All right, let's rise and face the east. Brothers, remember to remove your head coverings. And sisters always pray with their heads covered. All hearts and minds are ready. Abba Father Yah, the El of Abraham, Esaac, and Jacob, the Most High Covenant Elohim of Israel. Merciful Father Yah, once again, thank you for putting it up on our hearts and our minds and our spirits, O Heavenly Father, to deal with your holy days, O Heavenly Father. Almighty Yahweh, if there's been any error in what we've gone over on this evening, O Heavenly Father, show us these things in your loving kindness and not in your sore hot displeasure, O Heavenly Father. Almighty Yahweh, continue to increase this desire to want to be a part of your law, statutes, and judgments, O Heavenly Father. Allow us the strength, O Heavenly Father, to walk in these things that you've allowed to be preserved for us, O Heavenly Father. Almighty Yahweh, as we continue to make a heartfelt effort to walk in your ways, O Heavenly Father, I ask that you'll help each and every one of us, Almighty Yahweh. I ask that you'll continue to lift that veil of ignorance away from us, O Heavenly Father. Chip away at these hearts of stones, O Heavenly Father, and take away the stiff neck that we have from our forefathers, Almighty Yahweh. Heavenly Father, I ask that you'll continue to keep your hedge of protection around us and forsake us not, Almighty Yahweh. Thank you for the breath of life, O Heavenly Father, and our health and strength, Almighty Yah. In Yahshua's name, I humbly come to you and pray and ask these things of you. Amen and hallelujah.